Well, now it is time, thank you very much. We're going to go to you for the solutions. I'm going to ask Anne-Marie, Garrett, JP and Tom to actually go down and join the tables. There's about 8 or 9 tables and you have a rapporteur at each one. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw out a question for all of you, and your table must, in 10 minutes, come up with a big solution or solutions. Then we're going to just have a quick discussion about that, and I'm going to throw a second question out to you. So if you want to just give a warm round of applause for our panel, they'll be back joining us later. So you can go ahead down. So the first question that we want you to consider at your tables is, what are the big systemic step changes, in your view, do you think are required to ensure implementation and delivery? So I'll give that to you again. What are the big systemic step changes, or what are the big priorities you think are needed to ensure implementation and delivery? We're going to give you 10 minutes, so keep your rapporteurs busy, and I'll be back with you shortly. A bit of Q&A is what we're going to do. I think we've about 10 tables. Guillaume, I'm going to give you one of these. Okay, I'm going to hear from 5 tables now, and then for the second question, we're going to hear from another table. So don't be shy. Who's going to start us off with the big priorities or the big step changes that needs to happen? Please tell me there. Oh, there we are. Here we go. So I'm going to do 5 on this one and then 5 on the next question. So you'll all be called at one point. So.
Thank you very much, Moderator. And I just went first because it's the start of an ascending curve in terms of sophistication, etc. But I wanted to remark, coming in, that there's a very good exhibition just in the corridor by the library on the heritage and resources and what the RDS has been doing for resources since 1731. And there's a very interesting photograph of Sir Samuel Madden, who instituted a programme of grants that lasted from 1741 to 1812. And I couldn't help asking myself, what would he think of our world today and of what we are engaged in this afternoon? But the first point I want to make is that the emissions are extremely, I beg your pardon, that energy is a very, very important field in our considerations, and that the issue of floating offshore winds is a very important factor in that. The government has apparently said that, is talking about that there could be 30 megawatts of floating offshore wind available off the west coast, and what I'm concentrating on is that they're talking about it, whereas what we need to do is speed up the activity on getting that going. And one of our people here spoke about the slowness with which everything practically is dealt with in relation to this vital topic. Secondly, the industries need to lead on renewables. That's a very complicated point, and I may pass it to PJ for elucidation afterwards. The third point is that we have to get across these new ideas about what industry is and manufacturing is, etc., to children. And so I paid particular attention to what Lord Putnam was saying about education and how education has to be geared. I mean, he ridiculed, I mean, nobody passes too much remarks about the leaving certificate perhaps, but he said it was practically irrelevant to educating children to the needs of the future that we've been speaking about. And lastly, money. The money goes where money will be invested, where it is profitable, and the government should make sure to make investment for climate change as attractive and profitable as possible. Thank you all.
That's brilliant. So acceleration, particularly with those big offshore investments, planning, all of that, education, proper investment, environment as accelerators. I'm going to point now at this table here, just the second from the back.
Yeah, I suppose in general, again, on that education theme was a big piece. I think that, you know, yeah, we're a bit older and we talk a lot and we talk at a bit. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can indeed.
And, you know, and as was mentioned, talking about new ways of educating the young people, but flipping it on its head, maybe taking what the young people have to say. So last year we had the Citizens' Assembly, which had interesting findings. I read through them. They were okay. But actually what I found more interesting were the findings of the Children's Assembly. They got to the point of it more. You know, like the younger people are better versions of us, to be honest. Let's be frank. So there where we're going to get the ideas. And, you know, they came up with stuff. They cut to the chase. You know, why are we cutting down the trees? We need to stop that. You know, maybe we have too many cows, you know. So they cut to the chase. So perhaps we need to target the better versions of us. We talked about maybe, you know, there's a lot of people looking for incentivization. You know, I'm involved in the Department of Ag. We're trying to support people looking into the potential of carbon farming. But in fact, people say for it to happen, they need subsidies, state supports, public-private partnership. But perhaps an element of taxation needs to be considered, you know, as an incentive to make change. You know, things are happening perhaps too slowly. So, was there other topics?
So incentives to accelerate the step changes.
Yeah, so talking about there's a big increase in taxation, revenue, carbon tax. So, you know, how are we going to fund that? So how we look at it, the reality of it, again, going back to our social conditioning, and, you know, how do we've all done the Leaving Cert 30, 40 years ago, you know, how do we uncondition ourselves from that to come up with these solutions? So I suppose it's being more creative and, as you say, act now. And, you know, we know what we need to do, generally speaking. And, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect, I suppose. It's just, let's get going on it.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to nominate one more table, and because they're close to me, I'm going to ask this table here before I give you our second question. Who is our rapporteur? PJ.
That we need to measure, so follow the carbon, measure the company's carbon, try and come up with incentives rather than maybe taxes, try and encourage people to do the right thing. There was an example of Saudi Arabia where they're putting a huge investment into forestry now, which, you know, as an oil producing nation, you know, just shows it needn't be frowned upon. They're trying to do the right thing. So yeah, I think they were some of the main topics that we had discussed.
Excellent. And if you pass the microphone just back behind you there, have another contribution.
Thank you very much. We're a small table here, but nonetheless,
small but perfectly formed.
We'll play our part. One of the things following on from the points that have been made is the focus not a bit on top-down. And where a lot of discussion is taking place with people maybe with vested interest, whether it's political, whether it's farming, or whether it's manufacturing, whatever it may be. But is there a need for more town hall kind of discussions where the ordinary citizen can actually go along, be informed, give their opinion, which could probably be a more effective way of changing political thinking and might well change the energy in relation to some political parties?
Yeah, and I think that was, we began that conversation even on the panel when we're talking about communities that are going to be affected. Where is their voice and how do you engage them and how do you keep them on that journey? I have time, I think, for one more. I'm going to go to this table in the centre here before I give you our next question.
Hi. We also came up with education, so I won't spend too much time on that because that's been covered well. There was another idea, we had 4 ideas in total, another one about regulation legislation and the need to make sure that there's incentives for that. The quote here was, make sure nobody goes out of business doing the right thing, if there's some way to incentivize that. There was also an idea about a national plan that would coordinate this and take it above and beyond, if you like, the 5-year cycle. And embed it in government, in the permanent government in some way. Canada have done an interesting, or did an interesting thing when they were 175 years old. They took 8 topics that were strategic and they recruited their under 25 new recruits into the public service to champion that and to work on that and to work through policy. So they got youth and vigor and ideas. So those were, the other interesting thing on the national plan is it looks like Denmark some time ago got their act together on this because they seem to be ahead and actually using all of this area and all of these challenges to produce a business model for them where they will solve the problems and go out and solve them for the rest of the world. But that happened some time ago. But maybe we should adopt this as simply our business strategy, our industrial strategy, and one plan.
Yeah, one plan, one coordinated plan. Okay,
plans.
For those of you who didn't get to speak or report in this round, you will be in the next.